Good afternoon this time. Happy Easter. It is Easter, but I'm going for a walk anyway. Kind of a breezy day, so there might be some wind noise on this one. It's lovely. It's about 14 degrees. Just ate a big Easter brunch of waffles and sausage, so maybe I'll burn off some of that on this walk. If you're just joining me for the first time, I will be walking in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And my plan is to go over to Lakeview again. I should have gone through the alley. Well, this will be slightly different. But, well, no, I'm going to go. I'll take the footbridge across rather than go on the noisy Albert Street Bridge. Go over to Lakeview and kind of zigzag through it. Different zigzags than I've used before. That's my plan. Maybe rather than walk along the dike, I'll take a different path over to the footbridge here. So, big news on the Kickstarter. I had a huge day yesterday. This is the Kickstarter for Shapers of Worlds Volume 2, which is an anthology of short fiction from people who have been guests on my Aurora award-winning podcast, The World Shapers. In the second year, I Kickstarted one last year for first-year guests. And I interview science fiction and fantasy authors on that podcast about their creative process. So this will be a science fiction and fantasy anthology with some really big names in it, like Kelly Armstrong and Garth Nix, S.M. Sterling and Nancy Kress, and Barb Hambly, and many more. You can find it online at the Kickstarter. If you go to Kickstarter and look up Shapers of Worlds Volume 2, or you can go to tinyurl.com/Shapers of Worlds 2, Arabic numeral 2. You'll find it. But went up more than $1,100 yesterday, and has gone up some more today. So as of this moment, it's less than $600 to go to fund, and still 4 days to get there. Most of 4 days to get there. So if you want to get in on it, now would be a good time. There's still lots of great backers rewards, and you can be assured now that the anthology will fund. So if you support it now, you can rest assured that the product will actually be there at the end of all this. And if you put down for a backers award, that you will get that backers reward. So good time to go on and fund now in these last few days. There's usually a bit of a surge at the end. I don't know what that'll look like this time. But you can expect at least that the followers, there's about 150 followers, they get an email with 2 weeks left to go to, let them know that it's coming to an end. And I think there's still about 100 of those followers who have not yet become backers. So you don't get all of them, but you get a percentage of them, and that should give me a good boost. If I go to, my only stretch goal is at $2,500 over the $15,000, I will pay another cent a word, and so forth. Every $2,500 I can afford to pay another cent a word. I would have made that a little lower, but there's more authors this time, so I need more money to raise the pay. Last time I was able to do it and pay 11 cents a word for new fiction and 6 cents a word for reprints, but the beginning point that everyone agreed to was 10 cents a word for new fiction and 5 cents a word, all these are Canadian cents, for reprints. That's very exciting to know that that's going to fund. I mean, there's no way it won't fund now, I don't think. So also means I know what I'll be doing over the next few months, as I now will be reading and editing and designing and publishing and all that stuff. Getting the book printed and getting all the rewards sent out, all that good stuff is now coming my way. But I did it last year. I was very happy with the result. That book, Shapers of Worlds, is still available. And if you back this one, there's an add-on for just $35, which includes shipping. You can get a copy of last year's in print as well. So Okay, we will go down. Oh, actually, I went one too far. No, this is Cameron. For a minute, I thought I'd gone all the way to Garnet. This is Cameron. This is the Footbridge Street. You can see it up there. Ooh. Trying to get the camera where I want it. Yesterday I noticed I seemed to be pointed a little too much at the ground. Try to get a better proportion here. Aim for that golden mean. More or less. Okie dokie. We'll go over here, we'll turn left, we'll go into Lakeview, but I'm going to go another block before I start zigzagging, which should put me on some somewhat different roads than I've walked before, at least some of the time. River still not quite open. And the bay still has a skin of ice on it. Shouldn't be too much longer at these temperatures. Again, if you happen to catch this live on YouTube or Facebook, you can comment and I will see it. And say hi, or answer questions, or sing a song, maybe. Not promising that. Okay, we'll go this way. Come along here a couple of times along the river. Part of the really nice network of bike and footpaths we have in Regina. I will be glad when the Kickstarter funds. I will be glad when the Kickstarter, the fundraising portion of it, is over, because it's been a huge amount of work and it's interfering with my current book project, The Tangled Stars, which is really due. I'm still finishing it up, so I'll be happy to no longer have this Kickstarter and all the social media posting and everything that I do every day. Once it funds, there's about a 2-week period before you get the money. And while I have some stories in hand, I'll have others to come. People probably haven't even written some. I haven't written mine. I know the name of one character because somebody bought a what's called a Tuckerization, your name used as a character, for my story for the anthology. So I do know the name of one character. But I don't know what the story's going to be about, so got a ways to go there yet. I don't really even have an idea, but it will come. Ideas aren't difficult. Execution is difficult. Most authors will say, I like the one that was, who was it? David B. I think it was David Coe, said, there's lots of ideas sleeting around. You just have to be dense enough to stop them. The ones that you end up doing something with. Here by the culvert, it's certainly opening up more and more. So when you see the thin ice warning, really take that seriously. I've mentioned over here the berm that's this side's flood control. I mean, it has openings in it, but you would sandbag those in the event of a flood. And of course, on the other side, you have the dike that I've walked along many times. This is a park and people having Easter Sunday picnics, it looks like, which is nice. The birds singing. went that way last time, but we'll stay on the main path this time. There's something lying in the middle of the road up there. There used to be a pool and a fountain along here, but they took it out a few years ago. I don't know if it was a fountain, but it was a pool of some sort. I hope the wind's not too much of a nuisance. My little wind sock, which is just a little bit of cotton under tape over top of the microphone hole, seems to do a not bad job. Certainly I didn't pay for an expensive one, but oh dear, somebody has lost their gloves. Not mine. Did a long walk yesterday down to the southern part of Wascana Center. I don't know how long this one will be. I have a pattern I'm going to follow, but I don't actually know how long it will be, but we'll find out. And of course, the reason for all this, as I mentioned, is that we've seen others on YouTube who do these kind of live walks, and I thought, well, I like to walk. I'd like to walk more. I'd like to have some reason to walk more. And this gives it to me. It passed me going the other way not too long ago. So I find I'm much more likely to walk every day when I know I'm going to be doing this than just to get out and exercise. The main guy we saw was, as I mentioned before, a fellow called Walking Commuter who walks in Manhattan every day, sometimes twice a day. Sometimes his actual commute, sometimes just to take a walk. Yeah, I'd say the ice down here is pretty much gone. Some geese. There's the bridge. This is actually the spillway for the dam that creates Wascana Lake on the other side. And here's the park over here with the burn again. So maybe we can park walking through the residential after this. Lots of people out enjoying the air, fresh air. It is the wind blowing quite a bit of fresh air. I try not to point it directly at people when I can. Looks like we did not catch the light well, but oh well. We'll wait. Here at the southern end of Albert Street Bridge. There's actually a plaque here that tells you about it, that it was, let's see, when was it built? Oh, it was restored in 1988. That's what that one's about. It was restored again. Oh, changed without me having to fix it. More recently than that, they touched up all of the terracotta balusters, I guess they're called, and the bison medallions, which I pointed out before as I walked on the bridge itself. We'll start zigzagging into Lakeview once I get up to the next street. Over there behind the trees is the Legislative Building, which I've now been by many times and will be by many times again. Again, if you happen to be watching on Facebook or YouTube, give me a note and I'll say hi. The Walking Commuter that I mentioned gets thousands of viewers and makes money because he's got enough followers that they can do like, oh, he'll thank them for like, oh, thank you for the $25 super chat. He does enough of those that we figure he makes a couple of hundred or more every time he walks. He usually talks, maybe not quite as much as me. Sometimes he does an on talking walk, which I might do sometime if I'm I don't know, feeling sullen or something, I guess. There you can see the ledge coming into view over there again, as we call it. The legislative building, the ledge. Always an impressive sight. Sign of what they thought Saskatchewan deserved when it was first starting. They thought it was going to be a much more prosperous and populated province than it turned out to be. There was boom years, and then there was a bust. Then there was the First World War. Then there was the Depression. And all of that has kept Saskatchewan a fairly underpopulated for something that's bigger than Texas, which it is, about 50,000 square miles, if I recall. And it has a bit over 1 million people in it. So, and they're mostly in the south, north, like all of Canada. The north is largely unpopulated, not completely, but very lightly populated. Nice house over there. Again, many houses we pass here are actually in my book, Historic Walks of Regina and Moose Jaw. I don't think there's an ebook version of it, so finding a copy might be difficult. I don't know if Amazon still has it in stock or what. I don't have any copies. If I had the rights, I'd put out an ebook myself. I should find out, actually. I took pictures of every single building on the lot, mostly in the wintertime. Which was good, because it's when the trees still haven't leafed out like this that you can actually see buildings better. Any I took while there were leaves on would be, in many cases, hidden. Certainly not that problem yet. This will, as you can see though, this will be a very leafy green avenue, as will all these streets down here. In a few short weeks, when the leaves bud out, probably we'll be seeing activity in a month, and maybe 6 weeks it'll certainly be pretty much entirely leafed out. This is Angus Street. As I've said, there's a Angus Street, Angus Boulevard, Angus Crescent. Angus got himself a lot of things named. This is a nice building on the corner. I don't know what it is right now, but it was, oh, hello, who's that? Bonjour. What's the handle there? I can't actually read it because of my eyes, but this was what was this? It was like a group home at one point, and maybe it is again, or maybe it's condos, I don't know. But it's quite an attractive structure. Maybe I can read that. One mon, okay, 22. Doesn't tell me a lot, but bonjour. Oh, I have been watching some of your other posts. So good. Oh, God, somebody has. I mean, I know people do. I'll occasionally get a chat like this, and I get, likes on YouTube and comments there after they post. It's nice. I mean, kind of the point, having people watch. But again, it's largely my motivation for walking, which is important too. After a winter when I was pretty couch potato-ish. A nice house on the corner here. It looks, if it's an old one, it was redone, but it might be brand new. I think it's probably brand new. It's hard to be sure. I don't live too far away in Lakeview. Oh, well, if somebody yells at me and waves, I'll know that I'm smile, you're on TV. I'm going to keep zigzagging this way, at least to hill and maybe beyond, and then maybe zigzag back in a different way. Lakeview is always a pleasure to walk through. I like walking in the residential areas. I don't want to go around the park. with all the people that would be there today, probably. I'll walk around the lake again some weekday morning, probably, the next time. See how the ice is doing. See if any baby geese have shown up. They won't be far away. Breeze is not too bad back here, and the cooling is nice when I start to get warm, as I continue to walk. Other than Kickstarter stuff, I don't have much to report new. I haven't been doing any writing over the weekend because of Kickstarter stuff and grocery shopping and all the things one does on the weekend. And Easter. Oh, we watched, what did we watch last night? Stan and Ollie, the little biopic thing about Laurel and Hardy on their last tour in England together, when it's kind of the last time they performed together. It was enjoyable, and as someone who has performed on stage, those kind of shows always resonate. I mean, I have not been a Laurel and Hardy level of entertainer making my farewell tour, but I've been on stage with small houses and, you know, giving it your all, but there's so few people out there. Those kind of situations. I was in a show once, years ago, Thai Productions. It was called the No Frills Review. And she would arrange, the producer would arrange sometimes to go out into smaller towns, and we went down to Stoughton, which has, I presume still has, a nice little theater. And we performed, and there were 4 of us, or was it 6 of us? And there were maybe that many in the audience. And you always debate at that point, but in this case, I presume some fee had been paid for us, so we performed. And we found out later that apparently we'd been booked on the same night as the Fowl Supper, which in small town Saskatchewan is a very big deal. And everybody was at the Fowl Supper, and nobody came to see our show, to speak of. And the one guy in the front was a kid, a teenager, who was only there because his mother was the one who opened the theater for us and was kind of in charge that night. So, oh, well, there's definitely some preliminary bud movement here, I think, looking on this one. Just a tinge there that makes me think they're getting close. And there's definitely some green showing up in the grass here. So, spring has sprung. Now, that always confuses the gimbal no end when I do that. There you go. So it'll be fun to keep doing this as the season changes. And I'd love to walk in a thunderstorm, but that doesn't seem wise. I don't think it'd be good for the phone to be rained on either, or the gimbal. I did walk in a snowstorm a few days ago, because it was just, a week ago tomorrow, I guess. And we had this howling snowstorm with a few centimeters of snow and 100-kilometer-hour gusts. And I went and took a short walk in that, and whoop, I just got caught by a bush as I went by a bush. You want to go take a look at that to see what Saskatchewan can look like if you're not someone who lives nearby in Lakeview. If you're one of my friends from the south. I know I have at least one follower from the UK. This is hill, so I will keep zigging though. Go a little further south than I sometimes have on these walks into Lakeview. I can cross here without getting run over. So Stan and Ollie is quite good if you like sort of show business things. The actors, I thought, did a good job of portraying the two historical characters. One of them, Steve Coogan, we quite enjoyed because we had watched, there's a series called The Trip, I guess they call it. There's like The Trip to Greece. I don't remember how many, maybe 4 or 5 of them now. 4 anyway, maybe they're done by now. I think the last one felt like the last one, but we thought that before. And it's him and, I can't remember the other actor's name, British actors. And they play sort of versions of themselves, but they're not really. A lot of it is improvised. They both do impressions. We've enjoyed them, but it was interesting then to see Steve Coogan doing. In fact, he was nominated for a Golden Globe for that role. It's good to see him doing something else. It was on. Was it on Netflix? I think it was on Netflix. I don't think we paid for it. I mean, we paid for it because you subscribe to Netflix, but I don't think we streamed it off of iTunes. It's hard to remember where you watch things. We watch stuff on Amazon Prime, we watch stuff on Disney Plus, we watch stuff on YouTube, we watch stuff on Netflix. About the only thing we don't watch it on anymore is broadcast television. I only ever turn into one of the big networks maybe for some sort of news coverage, and that's generally the way that TV networks cover news drives me to distraction. I'd much rather read my news, and the way that the newspapers cover news, what's left of the newspapers, is worse. So most of the time I just complain about the news. I'm 1 block from your house. Oh, that's cool. Always nice to come down here. The big modern houses I comment on over there in the corner. As I've said, I don't mind a few of those in a neighborhood, with these older neighborhoods, but it's I don't think they would make as interesting a neighborhood if all of the houses look like that. And that's not as, it might be a little older than some of the ones you're seeing now. Over there. I should probably head back north again before long, or this walk will get longer and longer. How long have I walked? Coming up on a half hour. Yeah, so I want to start back the other way. Yeah, I have walked down here, but the school that I walked by is just another block over to my right. So by taking a different zigzag, I see a different part of the neighborhood. Still haven't seen any comments from anybody on Facebook. If you happen to be watching this on Facebook Live, you're probably doing Easter things and not, for which I totally cannot blame you. And even my wife's not watching this one because she had other things to do. So sometimes I'll get YouTube Live streaming. I had 1 viewer, and I know it was my wife because she turned it on before I left. But some of them I'll have a handful of viewers. They don't usually watch for the whole thing. It is nice to walk without running into you just saw your house. Oh, well, wherever you are, hi. Good thing I didn't point the camera at and say, boy, what do you think of that house? Actually, don't show my house when I get home. It's going to work out pretty good if I stick to my original plan. I'll come up here and head back down whatever Elphinstone is called on this side. I always forget. It changes names. Well, technically I'm supposed to go down that way if I started back now. But I'm going to go up to the busier street. And I'll zigzag back offset from where I did this time. Since it's taken me half an hour to get here, that should give me my usual sort of 1 hour walk. Past a few people, I always get slightly, not exactly suspicious, but sort of, what is that guy doing? And of course, I am talking to myself, but in this day of Bluetooth headsets and AirPods and everything else, people that you see walking down the street apparently talking to themselves no longer seem quite as crazy as they did when I was a kid. And you could talk to yourself and nobody could hear you. Oh, someone's ready for a outside barbecue, or has had one. Alrighty, Argyle. I'm going to start down this way. I might just stick to this. Walk just down this side all the way back to... it's kind of boring though. Depends on how much more I want to stretch this out. I could zigzag back into the other side over there until I got down to Regina Avenue. But that would add quite a bit, and I think I'll stick to my guns and I will zig back again on this corner, start working back to Regina Avenue and the footbridge. I keep saying sometime this summer I will drive down to Weyburn, my old stomping grounds, and walk around Weyburn. It would actually be cool to go out to lots of little towns and do this, show off Saskatchewan that way. But you have to drive to get there, so could turn into a major project, which I'm not sure. Also, right now, they don't want anybody from Regina coming to their towns, with us being the hot spot for new infections here at the moment. I had my first shot of the AstraZeneca, or however you pronounce that, I'm never entirely sure, vaccine through a drive-through vaccine clinic a couple of weeks ago. Maybe 3 weeks. About 5 hours in my car. They're running it again right now. The age has dropped again. It's now 55 and above. When I went, it was 60 and above. It had dropped to. Which, you know, probably gives you a pretty good clue of how old I am. 62 in July. That was the other thing about watching Stan and Ollie. It's these old guys, and they know, I'm so impressed that you're still going, you know, all this. Well, they were my age when they did that tour. I certainly feel like if there was any call for it, I could do a tour like that without any trouble. Nobody wants to see me do a tour, but, you know, had my acting career amounted to more than it did, I think I'd still be able to do it. On the other hand, they were still doing a dance at the end of the number, even after Laurel had his heart attack, which is kind of what ended his career in their partnership. Admittedly, I couldn't do that, but that's just because I'm clumsy on my feet. Never been a dancer, unfortunately. Yes, well, I know how it's spelled. I'm just never entirely sure how it's pronounced. I always want to make it quite dramatic. AstraZeneca. It sounds like, I don't know, a Spanish superhero. AstraZeneca? AstraZeneca. 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 I had absolutely no reaction to the shot whatsoever. My arm was a little sore, but not as sore as a flu shot, and no fever or anything like that. So, whenever I get the second one, which all they said was 1 to 4 months, watch the media. Sometimes the second one apparently can give you more reaction, but I don't usually have much to any vaccine I've ever had. I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe it means it doesn't really activate my immune system. Except for the shingles vaccine. There were 2 of those too. And the second one kind of made me feel, like I had not exactly a cold because there wasn't any congestion or anything, but a touch of the flu or something. Also, that vaccine uses a very small needle, so it didn't even hurt going in. I think my smallpox scar is long gone. I'm old enough to have had a smallpox vaccination as a kid and had the scab and the little circular scar, but it seems to have vanished over the years. I remember getting a chest x-ray too with a portable x-ray machine that came to our school as part of the TB, fighting TB. And the polio vaccine, I had the sugar cube, I remember that. I liked that one. Give me more sugar cube vaccines. I will stick to my zigzagging guns wherever that brings me out on Regina Avenue. Might put me, actually it should put me maybe closer down to the bridge, the main bridge, than the footbridge. In which case I might just reverse my walk down the river side, or maybe across the Albert Street Bridge, just to be different. I don't think anybody's watching me on Facebook today. If they are, they're being silent. Well, they're always silent. Technically, leaving a text message doesn't make a sound. If a text message falls in the forest, does it make a sound? No. If a live stream walker falls in the forest, does he make a sound? I'd say yes. My joke has been if I ever trip and fall, it'll be Faceplant Live instead of Facebook Live. And I'll wish that I was on Tumblr. But here's Cameron, which would take us to the footbridge if I followed it directly down. But I'm going to keep zigzagging because that was my plan. And we're still several blocks from Regina Avenue, so indeed, this should bring me down more to the Albert Street Bridge than to the footbridge. And I have to take my daughter to go see somebody about a bike. She'd like to have a bike, and we have a line on one, so We're gonna go check that out. I've had 3 good bikes in Regina, and they've all been stolen from my garages. 2 different houses. 2 from one garage, 1 from our current garage. It's discouraging. First one that was stolen, I replaced it, and the second one got stolen. It's like they waited just long enough for me to replace it, and they checked to see if I had a new one, and then they took that one too. There's a big modern one there. 2 of them, side by side. As I said before, I don't much care for the houses that have the garage as their most prominent feature on the street. They look unfriendly, and they're kind of blank and just don't do anything for the streetscape. Partly a sign of the way that over the years, home life has shifted from the front yard, which is where you would sit out, on your big porch, veranda, wave at people going by, chat with people who are going by on the street. All of that has moved to the back, and people tend to sequester themselves in their backyard behind bushes and fences. Here we are with the Lakeview School and Lakeview United there. Here's a new one. I kind of like this one. It's got the feel of the older houses, but it's obviously a new one. So it's not very often you see people with like lawn chairs and an awning in the front yard. It's always in the back. Now, from a security point of view, obviously, if you had that in the backyard, in the front yard, people might be more likely to steal it. So there's some of that, I'm sure. We're building a deck, we hope, this summer. So we're planning to sequester ourselves in the backyard. So it's not like I'm ready to talk, though. We might put something in the front yard. A nice one on the corner here. This front goes onto the street behind us, so their garages are on the side, which works pretty well. It also depends, of course, where you put your garage as to whether you have an alley behind your house that you can utilize very well for your cars getting into the garage. We back onto an alley where we can drive into and park the car on that side. Although our garage is full of cars, we have 2 used Cadillacs. One of them is in really good shape. Well, it didn't run last year. It needs a new battery, I think, but I'll get it running this year again. The other one's been sitting for a very long time and would need a lot of work to get it running again, but there's no particular reason you couldn't. It's a Cadillac limousine. They're both from the late 70s when Cadillacs were the biggest cars in the world. The other one is only has about 15,000 original miles on it, so except for not being driven enough to keep it running reliably, I've done quite a bit of work on it year to year to try to keep it running. It's always a special occasion to get it out, though. It's not a run around town in car because of the parking problem. I think when I researched it, it's like the largest sort of single family automobile that's been we've been seeing Saved Regina's Cookhouse, and now Saved Regina's Cookhouse, because the city did decide it was heritage property and wouldn't permit it to be altered to the extent that the owner was talking about. We came down here just yesterday, and I noted that house, which I quite like. One of the new ones. Little free library. I always wonder if I should bring books with me on these walks and stick them in as I pass those places, because there's a number of them here in our neighborhood too. I've never taken a book out of it. Looks like my horizon has perhaps tilted again. Yep. I'm not sure if that's the gimbal's fault or if it's just the way that the angle of my wrist changes over time as I walk. In fact, I'm going to change hands because, oh yes, I've been holding up that one for quite some time now. I should put the lanyard on so it has a chance of catching it if I drop it. Oh, now look, there's the sky, which we probably don't want. There's better. I'm holding it completely different on this hand, so everything changed. This is actually our street, Italic, but I can't cross the river. So I might, yeah, I'll just cross Regina Avenue up here though, and that'll be our last zag, this is, or zig, whichever it is. And we can get down onto the path along the river again, or the creek. Yeah, my right hand is tingling now. I've shifted hands. I don't really notice it until I put the gimbal down and I realize that I've actually been holding that hand in one position for a very long time. Whoop. Unexpected driveway dip. Sounds like a dance craze. Let's do the unexpected driveway dip. Go through this little alley up here. That'll take us back into the park on the other side. Just have to get across Regina Avenue without getting hit. I'm pretty sure I can manage. If you're on Facebook, still time to leave a comment. Let me know you've been there. Hoping when I get back, I'll find that the Kickstarter has gone up another notch. That would be cool. If I had a day like yesterday, I would fund today, but yesterday was unusually active. Over $1,000 came in. If that had happened every day, I would have funded in 2 weeks. I used to know the people that lived in this house. I was in it years ago when I worked at the Saskatchewan Science Centre. I guess it was our director of exhibits. I lived there. I was there for a staff party of some sort. Okay, so we'll just go on to the footpath and back to the footbridge. And I'll be home in a few minutes. I'm going to switch hands again now that this has rested a bit because I find the left one quite awkward. Being right-handed. Okay, it's more or less centered. That's our timing here. Let's see. Coming up on 50 minutes, so yeah, it'll work out to about an hour when I get home. And then I upload this to the computer, and then I fire it off to YouTube, and then once it's been processed later in the day, I will post it to YouTube, publish it, and then I'll delete the live version. Because I know there's buffering usually in the live one where I'll be talking along. So it's very important, if you remember nothing else, remember that. And that's what I think. Could actually have fun with that if I could make it buffer on demand. That would be cool. There's the footbridge coming up. the still frozen Wascana Creek beneath it. Like one of these days the ice will just be gone. That's the way it usually seems to work. You'll be out one day and there's still ice, and you go out the next day and it's all water. Although admittedly it's shrinking already around the edges, so I wouldn't stand and watch waiting for it to disappear instantly, but it happens while you're not paying attention usually. Although since I'm walking every day, maybe I'll notice more this time how it works. Cyclists dismount, not a problem for me. And since I didn't walk along the dike when I came to the footbridge, I will walk along it on the way home here. Actually surprised there's not more people. Usually if you run into anybody, it's right there at the footbridge, which is obviously kind of a bottleneck because there's only so many ways across the creek. There's Albert Street Bridge, there's this one, and you get to Elphinstone, there's a bridge. Oh. There's a geocache under that bridge. Oh, I didn't know that. Makes sense. It always sounded like something that'd be fun to do, but I've never done it. Instead of going down our Ritalic one, I'll go down these steps just for difference. My shoelaces have managed to stay tied. I'm smart enough to double tie them now, so I don't have to stop. Every time I've had to stop and tie my shoelaces, it's a problem with the gimbal. First time I didn't think about it and I just put it down, and of course the servos went frantic trying to make sense of it. I didn't figure that was good for it. And then if I turn it off, then you end up sort of staring up at the sky for a bit while I tie my laces. I could turn it off or pause it. You can turn off the microphone and the camera, which is what I did when I took it downtown and went in to pick up pills at the Shoppers Drug Mart downtown. I didn't think security or anybody else would appreciate me walking through the mall with a live camera. So I could do that too next time I have to tie my laces, I guess. I'm always afraid I'll accidentally turn it off, which I did on one trip where there's an end button on the screen, and try to do anything else on the screen, which I don't know what I was trying to do, but somehow I managed to hit the end button and broke my stream in half. Worked up a bit of a sweat. I was wearing a sweater, a light sweater. I could have done it in shirt sleeves, clearly, but it doesn't feel like that when you start. It doesn't take long at walking at a brisk pace before you think, I didn't really need this sweater. Contractor that worked on our renovations lives down this street. I think it's kind of nice that our person that works on our house is familiar with the age and type of houses in this neighborhood. He's renovated his own. Did a nice job on ours. John Ott. Jon Ott, O-T-T-E. We recommend it. Can't remember the name of his company though, off the top of my head. So going down the other street, I should have remembered they were gathering there. Leopold Crescent. Often pointed out that house, which is quite new and quite something. I like it. I'm a sucker for stone and Tudor style timber work and multi-paned windows and all that kind of ye old England stuff. Anyway, I like that one. And turrets, as I often mention. Love a turret on a house. You can add battlements and pots of boiling oil, then you really got something. And a moat. A moat would be cool. One more block. And stop at my traditional stop sign. You can always tell where there's kids. Happy Easter. Be a really happy Easter if my Kickstarter funds today or tomorrow. One more short block, and we are at our stop sign. How long did this run? Almost exactly an hour by the time I get up here and stop, so. Longest I've done was more like an hour and 40 minutes with 10-minute break because I was in the mall. I keep saying I will do something more interesting later on. I certainly plan to go walk around the university. Might walk further out along the pathway toward the RCMP museum and barracks, but probably have to have somebody meet me out there so I didn't have to walk back. All right, here's our traditional stopping spot. So thank you very much for walking with me, whether live or watching it recorded later, and I'll be back.